Excellent. I figured out where the camera is. Jeez. It's my book. But no, seriously. Front. Back. All the good things. It's called The Illuminated Heart. It is a retelling on East of the Sun, West of the Moon, and if you don't know what that fairy tale is, you should go find out. It has a polar bear. I added zombies. I did. Okay. And I thought, hey, most people don't know this fairy tale, most people don't know my writing, and, well, I write good, so I'm gonna read it. Because I also can now take HD video, and that's important. Oh yeah, there's a thing in the corner telling me how long the video is, so I'm going to use that to inform me how long it took me to read things after each chapter. So if you see me doing this, that's me checking out how long the video is. Also being distracted by the blinking red thing on the screen telling me that I'm recording. But, you know, aside from that. Okay, so that's how that's going to work. I'll definitely read the first chapter. I might read the first 2 chapters, and then really at that point I might as well just read the first, maybe not the first 3 chapters. I don't know. I'll do stuff. Things will happen. All of that. If you're looking at the cover and you're really, really confused because you're like, I have the ebook. The ebook does not have that cover. You are in fact correct. The ebook does not have that cover. The ebook has this cover, and it is gorgeous and wonderful, and that's a polar bear skull and stuff like that. Okay. Another thing that the ebook doesn't have, or that's, yeah, well, something that the ebook just doesn't have in general is, pages. I am so funny. Also illustrations. I made these. They're awesome. There's one for each part. I was gonna do one for each chapter, but when you have 16 chapters and you don't want to draw 16 pictures, you don't. So I had 4 parts to the book, and I drew 4 pictures instead. All of the names in this book are Icelandic, and I don't know Icelandic, but I did look it up on Google Translate on how to pronounce everything. So if Google Translate is horribly mistaken, then I will be horribly mistaken. And if you know anything about Icelandic and you know how things sound, I very much apologize because I didn't have any other sources. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now I'm actually going to read the book. Part 1. God has left me. Chapter 1. Funeral. The bearers lowered my baby brother feet first through the grave door, and I felt nothing. Not yet. Around me, my family and members of our village murmured prayers while I wept. A wind started, spreading cold like knives, but I only wrapped my shawl tighter around me. Winter edged the air, prophesied by the wind and sky. As the bearers settled my brother into his barrow, I tried not to think of how small he was. There didn't need to be so many bearers, but they were all my father's closest friends, and they wanted to do honor to him at the loss of his only son. They withdrew from the barrow's entrance, picked up their tools, and began bricking up the doorway. Oyvind, my father's gentle younger brother, was having a hard time keeping his hands steady, and left some of the bricks crooked. The others silently straightened these when they noticed them. At one point he stumbled and kicked a small hole in their work, his face wet with silent tears. My father went to him, but Oyvind shook him off and replaced the bricks. When the grave door had been sealed, Simon the priest sang a hymn. He had spoken against my father's plans for a barrow, denouncing it as a pagan tradition, but my father had wanted his son to be buried like a Viking hero, treated like a king of Iceland. Seeing that my father's only motivation was his love for his son, Simon had relented, so long as the entrance to the barrow was closed against any evil that might gain power through such a burial. The hymn fell on me like a slow, pounding rain. I only wanted to be out from under its touch. Its strains slowed to a trickle, then stopped. Our gathering disbanded, and I followed my weepy family home. After I helped my mother and sisters make dinner, I ate in attentive silence, though my mind had strayed to the hills outside our farm. While washing up, Mother noticed my restlessness. "Go on," she said. "Your sisters and I can manage the rest." I ran from the house, past my father's fields, up and up until I had crested the hill at the edge of the farm, and the land spread out before me, wide and hard and empty. The wind arose, tugging my hair from the sun's lingering warmth, and I followed it down the embankment to the place where rock met the curve of the river. Running my hand over the familiar stone wall, I picked my way along the narrow shore, still following the breeze despite its loss of strength behind this shield. I reached a trail of stepping stones, crossed the river, and climbed up the other side. The sky spread out over the hills, raked by thin, gray clouds that seemed to reach like claws from the distant mountains, carved of light and darkness in the face of the setting sun. "Where were you?" I screamed, the words scraping the air, becoming clouds of their own. "Where were you when my father prayed and prayed for a healthy son? Where were you when my brother was born sick? Where were you? How can you say that you love your children when you would do this, when you would allow this?" I spit in God's face, daring him to answer, to speak like he did to the prophets, like he must have to Jesus when he prayed so earnestly that his death passed him by and blood ran from his brow like sweat. Hearing another means ceasing to speak, my grandmother used to say. So I held back my words and let the silence fill the sky like a tangible thing, thick and heavy. My spirit raged, but I held to as much stillness as I could, giving space for the words I craved. Stiff and straight as an aspen, I strained to listen until my back cried out for release. All I heard was a murmuring, like a wheel turning round and round, speaking nothing more than nonsense, nothing more than garbled noise through water. I laughed, pebbles falling from the scree. "So you would leave me here, then? You're the one who promises good things, the one who says he will protect and prosper his children. Have you forgotten that? No. You gave my mother and father a child of prayer, and when death took him, you did nothing. Are you so different from us that you have no heart? That you would not even shed a tear while we ache with loss? I have been very wrong if this is so." Thoughts of how my parents and Father Simon would speak of God and his love rose in my mind like a soft fragrance, shy in the face of the fire within me. I squatted on the grass, letting my back relax for a moment before I turned away from the mountains and sat down. "You have to give my father another son. I know Mother is getting too old to have children, but you gave Sarah and Abraham a child when she was 99 and he was 100. You gave them Isaac. You can give me a brother." My feet dangled down the escarpment, heels brushing against the brittle stone and stray clumps of grass. I pulled out a few green blades and broke them into pieces as tears pushed against my eyes. Finally, I thought, finally, there'd be a boy in the house and we'd be complete. Someone my sisters and I could dote on, who Father could take out into the fields and teach how to be a man. Someone Mother could kiss and call her sweet boy. It didn't even matter that he was sick for so long. He'd get better. He was from you. But he didn't. I threw the bits of grass down into the river, but they hit a jutting rock first and stuck there. The tears slid down my cheeks, and I didn't try to stop them. Wind teased at the bits of grass, shifting them as I stared with a mind blank and a heart turning like the handle on a well. I couldn't tell if the water was coming or going. "Fine. Say nothing, but at least show me a sign." My spirit grew firm. "You owe me that much, at least, while I wait for more. In a moment I will stand and turn back towards the mountains. Show me something that will tell me what I need to hear." I inhaled, tense. He wouldn't show me anything. No, I couldn't accept that. He had made the fleece wet when Gideon had asked, and made it dry again when he had called for proof that God was with him. I asked for nothing so specific, nothing so impossible. God would come. He had to come. Taking another breath, I stood, brushed the dust from my skirt, and turned around. At first, I could see nothing, but I wasn't willing to let God get away so easily, so I looked harder. Out among the hills, coming across them at a great speed, was a white animal. It was just a sheep, certainly, but as it came closer, I began to realize that I was watching the approach of a bear. A polar bear, savage and wild, and I was most definitely its target. God, what kind of sign was this? I hiked up my skirt and ran. The bear was far enough away that I could escape it, or at least its sight, and get to safety. The river should slow it down, I thought, as I raced across the stepping stones and back along the bank. We'd have to ford the waters. They aren't as strong as in the spring, but the flow should still be enough. It should be. Returning to the hill above my family's farm, my heart sped at the sight of the house, and I thought that I had not escaped the danger, that I was bringing it home. But looking back would slow me down. I could do nothing more than listen while I raced past the fields, listen with wide ears for the sound of bare footfalls hiding in the voice of the wind. There! My hands fumbled at the door before I crashed through and cried out for my father. Then, with the house at my back and the sound of my father running to me, I searched the hill for the bear. Gone. Dagny, what's wrong? What is it? My father stood behind me, following my gaze. But he saw what I did. The sky and the land, the place where they touched, and nothing more. What's wrong? It had been a sign of hostility, a sign of anger, a sign that God wanted nothing to do with me. My heart broke finally. My father caught my limp body before I fell to my knees with weeping. He held me close and stroked my hair, trying to soothe me with a shaking voice and cracked words that I didn't hear. Kai Arison, I will miss you. I think that's good enough for a video for now. As you can tell, this book is really, really personal for me. I didn't lose any siblings, thank goodness. But I have experienced grief and loss and the feeling that God wanted nothing to do with me, or had at least been ignoring me or something. So it all comes from that. Yeah, that's it. I might end up reading more chapters. I won't read the whole book because that would be silly. You could just buy it and read it and stuff like that. But I will read some more because it's fun and because I am actually going to be making an audiobook. And I might end up using the audio from this for it. I'm not sure. I did stumble a couple of times, so I will go through and just see how it all worked. Stuff like that, you know. Quality control. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and you have just listened to the first chapter of the Illuminated Heart. So, stuff. Alright, I'm done. Goodbye.